Hello, BookTube. It's Tuesday, and that means Tag Tuesday, when we all drop what we're doing in our busy, busy lives and do some sort of tag or other. And the tag that's starting to go around right now deserves to go viral. It's an original tag by Brandon at Brandon's Bookshelf. And the last time he did an original tag, his very first original tag, the Philosophy of Reading tag, everybody did it because it was so much fun. It was such a fun tag. He's made another original tag. It is called the body tag. So he's gone from the metaphysical to the very physical to a body related tag. I'll leave a link to his video down below. He tags everybody, and so do I. You should definitely do this. When Brandon makes a tag, it is a special occasion. It is worth doing. This one's a lot of fun. It's all body related prompts, but he has put a slash next to them to invoke something that isn't body related, just in case you don't have a book on that subject. So the prompts start out with number one, the brain/intellect. And for this, I chose a book that we've seen on this channel. I read it. I don't think it's out yet. I didn't mark down the date on it. It's by Patrick House, and it's called 19 Ways of Looking at Consciousness. And it's very good. Very interesting. Some of the ways I think are hogwash, but I was really I enjoyed it a lot more than I expected that I would. So I don't think it's out yet, but you could put it on your list. I doubt there'll be a long waiting list for it at your library. They might not even know that it exists, so you could ask them to get it. Then prompt number 2 is mouth/voice. For me, I chose this. This is by Brian Kello. It is his biography of Ethel Merman, the great Ethel Merman, the Merm, who was for 40 years the voice of Broadway, and who her critics at the beginning of her career, she had a handful of them. They were all won over. They were all bulldozed by her talent. But her critics used to say that it's unfair that she became the ascendant power on Broadway, since her singing doesn't show a whole lot of fine control. And one critic famously put it decades and decades, almost a century ago, one critic said that she accomplishes by brute force what other people accomplish by training and skill. She also had unbelievable charisma on stage. But when you think about the voice, when I think about the voice, I think about someone who, when Ethel Merman sang a note, she sang the hell out of it, as was the universal saying on Broadway when she was basically in charge of Broadway and could pick and choose her projects. People said, you'd better not write Merman a bad piece of music, because the people in the very back of the theater are going to hear it. So I chose this. This is a very insidery biography of her. Ethel Merman has had a number of biographies. I'm very happy about that. But this is an insidery biography. Brian Kello seems to know a lot about the backstage machinations, how you get a show to open, what happens with outsized personalities and whatnot. And that fits in very well with the subject matter. So for voice, I chose the Merm. Then we go on to prompt number 3, which is the heart/feelings. And I want to stress here that Brandon is being metaphorical. Okay, your heart doesn't have any feelings. It's a vascular pump. It is a brainless muscle. Your feelings, your fifis, your check with your gut, your go with your instincts, your do what your heart says is right, the heart wants what the heart wants, all of that is a metaphor for your brain. Your brain is the only place where anything like that happens. None of the rest of it, not anywhere else. It's not in the heart, which is non-conscious, and it's not in the soul, which is non-existent. It's only your brain. That's it. If anything happens to your brain, it happens to you because you are your brain. If your brain ends, then you end. So I want to stress the metaphorical nature here. It's just that the heart has been associated with feeling for a long time. I think that's the nature of the pairing here. And for the heart/feeling, I want to recommend a book about the heart. It's by Sandeep Jauhar, and it's called The Heart: A History. He himself is a doctor, and this is a story not just about what the heart does in the body, the miracle of it, the genesis of it, the reality of it in your life. It is the engine by which you live, by which all things live. That is so fascinating. And it takes a really good science communicator, a really good doctor, to know all of that and convey it the way this book does. But the book also has two other aspects. One is that it draws liberally from the author's own experiences. And two is that it gives you the history of how we know what we know about the heart. How we know that. The people, the men and women who actually blaze the trail of figuring out what this thing is, what it does, how it does what it does. That is a very complicated story that often came against all kinds of opposition, secular and religious. Those stories are amazing. They must have taken a huge amount of research to do. It's an extremely engaging book. I'm not going to say heartfelt. It's just an extremely engaging book. Then the next book is also, I'm hoping that all of these are really engaging. The next prompt is the arm/strength. And here I want to recommend a book that is one of those rare discordant things that I love so much in reading, where I know that I should hate the book, but I end up loving it simply because, as I say on this channel over and over again, it's all about the execution. It's all about the execution. Subject matter, your or my petty moral pronouncements on the subject matter should not matter. That should not matter. It's all about the execution. And this book proves that point, because I was ready to hate it and I loved it. This is Mark Sinnott's book, The Impossible Climb, which is about Alex Honnold. And Alex Honnold is a huge part. In fact, he's almost the whole of the part of the reason why I should hate this book. I know he has all kinds of fans because he looks like an anime character. His eyes are the size of tea saucer plates. I don't like that kind of packaging of this particular guy, but it clearly works. And the 10% of the subject matter that I don't like that isn't just personally Alex Honnold, about whom, oh my, I could tell you stories that would make your several hairs stand on end, like quills upon the fretful porpentine. It's not just him, though. The other 10% is the sheer suicidal lunacy of the sport of which he's the undisputed master, which is free climbing. That's what it's called. It's called free climbing, but it ought to have a different name. It ought to have a name more indicative of what it really is. It's where you climb up a rock with no equipment at all. No belaying ropes, no stays, no hammers, no pitons, no nothing like that. Just your fingers and toes. You climb up that rock. Now, some of you might do recreational rock climbing at your gym. And you might think, what's the big deal? You fall, you fall, because the floor at the gym is 10 inches of padded foam. That's not true in free climbing that is competitive, in the kind of sport that Alex Honnold is better than anybody at. That's not true. You get up 100, 200, 300, 400 feet off the ground, whether it's a building or a rock, you are one missed handhold, one sneeze, away from falling to your death in front of cameras. I don't mean to be prescriptive here. I don't want to be puritanical, but I don't see why this sport is allowed. I don't see why it is. It's a free country, sure, but there's a reason why if you try to climb up the side of the Flatiron Building in New York, people will call the police and you will be arrested. If you survive, if they can get you off the building, you will be arrested. There's a reason for that. It's those two elements together. Alex Honnold, who is either a wide-eyed, incredibly wide-eyed boy in a man's body trapped in a world that's complex and all he wants to do is just hang out in his van, or he's a fan-rogering pothead who lies to make his image. Whichever way you look at it, that plus the suicidal nature of free climbing just in general should have made me hate this book. But Mark Sinnott is an incredible writer. This is an amazingly done book. And it effectively conveys, when talk about strength, because the strength that Alex Honnold has in his hands alone, to say nothing of his arms, is astonishing. It has to be somewhere beyond medical analysis. And when you finish with this book, you get the strong impression that you get if you've ever watched what this kid does, or watched a demonstration, an interview, or something like that, which is that he has honed this ability almost to superhuman levels. It's almost superhuman what he does. I believe that covers him free climbing El Capitan in Yosemite. which you may know. If you don't know the sport at all, you will still know about free climbing El Capitan, because it's what Jim Kirk is doing at the beginning of Star Trek V. He is attempting to free climb El Capitan. No ropes, no stays, no nothing. If you slip, you die. And Alex Honnold makes a regular thing out of doing this kind of thing, and it's uncanny. Just uncanny. You look at something, you look at the surface that he has climbed, and you think, even with a hammer and pitons, this would be a severe challenge to the most experienced alpinist in the world. He manages to do it without any equipment at all. And this is a fascinating book on that subject. So that will be arm or strength. Then the next one is elbow or... What's up, baby? Do you want to come down from your perch? You can do it. There you go. That's not a good place to do yoga. There we go. The next, sorry, she interrupts a lot of videos. The next one is The Elbow or Humor, a book that is funny or that brings out your, tickles your elbow, your funny bone. I chose this. Frank Muir is the editor of the Oxford Book of Humorous Prose. This is utterly delightful and will put you on to a whole bunch of authors that you want to explore. I went through this. I've gone through this book many, many times, and the first few times that I went through, it added to my TBR. I went hunting for the authors that I didn't know, who I found an excerpt here and just loved. No side splitters here. There's nothing in here really like... what's an absolutely hilarious book? Something that's genuinely funny. I mean, you've got P.G. Wodehouse is of course represented in here, and he's sort of ripplingly funny. I'm thinking of something like The Old Spy magazine, for instance, or Modern Manners by P.G. O'Rourke. Something that's just going to make you bellow out loud with laughter. There's not a lot of that in here. It's more studied than that, but I love, this is a totally successful anthology. The Oxford book series is very long. There are many entries in it, and not all of them are successful as others, but this is one of the successes. Then we have prompt number 6, which is the stomach/food. This will give all of you a chance to recommend food writing or recipe books or whatnot, but I'm going for a book about the stomach. I'm going for a book by Julia Enders called Gut, which is about your digestive tract, the upper and lower digestive tract that you have there. You see the two of them there on the cover. It also includes your stomach. So you have your stomach, your small intestine, your large intestine, this enormously complicated, convoluted system that your body uses to transform the food you eat into the energy it needs to live. All the energy, all the nutrients, everything like that. It's gross. It's gross. But this book does a better job than any I have ever read of breaking down exactly how that process happens, how long it takes, what it likes and doesn't like, what it can't do, and what can go wrong. It's gross, but it is well worth the read. It is well worth the read. You'll love it in your gut. Then the next prompt is prompt 7, which is the groin. And here Brandon somewhat tellingly combines this with romance. He could have done that with the heart. Instead, he did it with the groin. I swear, heterosexual people can't take them anywhere. This is the groin/romance. I am not going to associate the groin with romance, but I am going to associate the groin with a terrific book. It's maybe not an all-ages book, but it is terrific. This is by Aaron Spitz, who, again, like Sandeep, is a doctor. And this is the penis book. This is the penis book. And like Gut and like the heart, this is a book entirely about the nitty-gritty of... I'm going to say this, and please don't think that I'm being a dude, bro. This is a book about the most important human organ in the history of the world. If it weren't for this organ, if this organ were different from the way it is, if it were felt or thought about different by its possessors, the world would be different. I believe. Almost every aspect of the world would be different. We'd lose a lot of good stuff. We'd lose a lot of bad stuff too. This is a book about that organ. It's about how it develops. There's a fascinating bit about its evolutionary history with glances at our fellow great apes, where the machinery is sometimes crucially different in key ways. And it's also about what is actually going on. What is actually going on? In healthy situations, in unhealthy situations, it's throughout every stage of life. It's actually very good. It's actually very good. So, well, there you go. Now, the next one after the groin, Brandon moves immediately to the hands. Again, I'm not going to inquire too closely. The next one is the hands / work. So here you could bring a prompt out about a book about work. It doesn't have to be about the hand, but hand is actually in the title of a book that I got an advanced copy of. We talked about it before I'd had a copy, before I'd read it at all. Then I read it and liked it and wanted to recommend it to you. And the more I've thought about it, the more I like it. So it's a perfect opportunity to recommend it again. It's Dead Man's Hand by James Butcher, who is that cover is actually indicative of something in the book, which is hand related. So it's not just the title. And he is the son of Jim Butcher, the author of the Dresden Files. This is a story set in Boston about the Orthodox and the unorthodox. The unorthodox are people who have magic powers, superpowers. And our main character, Grimsby, is the very low down on the pecking order of the magically powered people in this world. And his famous former mentor is found murdered, and he is immediately suspect number one. He has to figure out what's going on. It's a classic crime caper in its bones, because the number one suspect, in order to clear his own name, has to find the killer, and the killer doesn't want to be found. So there's all sorts of danger, not only from the law, but from the person or creature that you're hunting. I thought this was terrifically done. Just terrifically done. I've had to remind myself several times since I finished it that it's a debut. It's the young author's debut. If he can start off this good, his father didn't start off this strong. If he can start off this good, then who knows what he can do. Here's hoping. This is the first book in the Unorthodox Chronicles. Here's hoping that he writes 20 of them before he moves on to other things. So I wanted to recommend it. It actually comes out today. Today is its pub date. So recommend it at your library. Go to the bookstore and buy it, for Pete's sake. Give the Butcher the son, Butcher the younger, give him the boost of sales on his sale day. Cannot recommend it strongly enough as urban fantasy. It's just terrific. Then the next prompt is prompt number 9. We only have 10 prompts, so we're almost done here. Prompt number 9 is the legs / fitness, just fitness in general. And here I have a book that was recommended to me by a booktube channel that doesn't exist anymore. It was called Live Forever or Die Trying. No sign of activity on that channel, perhaps. He died trying. But he recommended me this book, and I read it. I really liked it. I think you would like it too. It's the Biohacker's Handbook. It's got a whole bunch of unpronounceable names as collaborative authors. I don't think any of them are real. This is a beautifully illustrated sort of rectangle book of all your body systems in general, from a 30,000-foot overview, but also in specific in terms of ways that you can understand them pursuant to fixing your approach to them. Your brain's health, your aging, your gut, your skin, your eyes, your attention, your skeleton, your muscles, the way you exercise. It's got a tiny bit of a tiny whiff of new age woo about it, but it's terrific. It really is a resource to consult over and over again for whatever part of your body is raising a ruckus today. So I strongly recommend it. No idea how available it is. I'm assuming that it's an odd book to print because it's an odd dimension. This is just a picture of the cover. It's an odd dimension, so it might be that it's not printed as regularly as it should be, but I strongly recommend it. Maybe maybe the owners, whoever owns this thing and whoever actually did write it, could reformat it. I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard to do, since all this was all designed on computer. I'm sure that you could do it to reformat it as an actual normal-sized book and reprint it. But it's well worth it for general fitness. This is a really good owner's manual to your body, to all the aspects of your body. And then prompt number 10 is the foot / travel. And here I went right away, travel's in the title, I went right away to what I consider to be a massive epic of travel writing that once upon a time was the most famous book in the world. Once upon a time it sold like griddle cakes. It isn't anymore, and probably for dumb Twitter PC reasons, people seem chary about reprinting it. But it's terrific. It's Mary Kingsley Travels in West Africa. This is the cover of an old paperback. I haven't seen a new version of this in quite some time, but it's a big, fat, generous travel guide. Her encounters with African wildlife, with indigenous African peoples. It's from a century and a half ago, but it's really good, really worth it. And for the first thing that came to mind for travel, she had grit. She really did. You have to read between the lines. This was, after all, a Victorian travel guide, but if you read between the lines, you get a clear sense that her travels in Africa were sometimes nightmarish. And she just gritted her way through. She just chin up, went her way through them in ways that would probably daunt a lot of modern day travelers. Really worth the experience to do. I haven't actually checked. I should have checked beforehand. I haven't actually checked to see if there's a copy on Project Gutenberg. There might be. I don't see why there wouldn't be. It was a world bestseller in the English-speaking world, and it's long since out of copyright. You might want to check there if you don't have a copy and you can't find one that you like used or whatnot. You might want to check Project Gutenberg, see if you can get a free download. But that is it. That is the body tag. I'll leave a link to Brandon's video down below, but again, I want to echo him by tagging everybody. The last tag that he did was a viral sensation, and this one should be too. And I'll leave a link to his channel. You should also check out. He's been doing a slow, very energetic read-through of the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. I don't know if he's done a playlist for it, but if you go to his channel, you'll see all of these things. You'll never find a more passionate guide to the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius. You might as well take advantage of that whenever any reading event like that happens, whether it's Brandon doing the Meditations of Marcus Aurelius or Tom L.A. Books doing Dante's Inferno or whatever. You want to get in on that, right? If somebody is pouring that much passion into one of their favorite books, you want to experience it with them through their eyes. So, and you'll find that on his channel, which is not far away from 2,000 subscribers. Just saying. Him having 2,000 subscribers would be really nice. That would probably be a significant boost to his morale, which doesn't seem to need boosting, but nevertheless, it might be nice. If you like what you see, you might want to go over and subscribe. But don't miss the Meditation Mondays, the Marcus Aurelius read-through that he's doing too. And if you have a BookTube channel, you are now doubly tagged for the body tag. I'm as curious to know your answers as Brandon is, so feel free to do this tag. I'll wrap this up for now. I'll see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.